Have you ever wondered how to take cool double exposure photos? Well, I'm going to take you into Photoshop and show you exactly how to do just that. The double exposure technique, as the name implies, is all about taking two exposures, or two shots, and overlaying them with one another to create a single photo like this. A lot of digital cameras and most film cameras have the ability to do this within the camera body itself, but I personally prefer to go into Photoshop because you have much more leverage over how the final product is going to look. Whereas if you did it in camera body, it would literally just be taking one photo and putting it on top of the other photo, and that's it. In Photoshop, you have the ability to move both of the shots around so that they're not just one on top of another. You also can excuse me, mask out certain areas to make certain parts of one of the shots more prominent than another part, and vice versa. But before I take you into Photoshop to show you how to do that, I wanted to give you a tip on how to make your background completely white, like in this here. The first way to do it is to go outside and shoot from a low angle upwards at your subject so that the only thing in the background is the sky. Expose for the subject and the sky will be completely blown out, perfectly white or blue or gray or whatever the weather is, but it will be one solid color, which will be great and a lot easier to fix than trying to clone out trees and things like that. Another way, which is the way I've done it, was to shoot in front of a large softbox. Since the softbox is already white, I just, once again, exposed for myself, which is the subject in this case, and blew out the background. A third way you can do it is by standing in front of a wall. Now, if you have a white wall, mission accomplished, you don't have to do anything. But for example, if you're standing in front of a brick wall, instead of trying to cut yourself out of the brick wall pattern and putting yourself on a white background, what you can do is put any kind of lights that you have on the back, on the, well, to light up the entire wall. Once you have the wall lit up, expose for your subject, which isn't lit. And just like you did with the sky or in the light box, your subject will be perfectly exposed, but the background will be blown out. And so you don't have to do any kind of cutting or cloning or anything ridiculous in Photoshop. Now that I've said all that, how about I take you into Photoshop and we actually get to the meat and potatoes of the double exposure photography technique thing. Yeah. Okay, let's get started. This was the photo from earlier where I was standing in front of a softbox, and I already cropped it in and turned it black and white because, well, that's the look I'm going for. Now this is the other photo I'm going to use. I'm going to select everything here and then copy it and then put that, paste it here as a separate layer on this image here. Now, what I want to do here is I'm going to hide this for a second. I want this part of my eye, the eye that you can't see, I want that to be right here with this starburst light thing. And see the horizon here with the cityscape and the lights below it. I want that to be framed right around this eye here, so my eye kind of pops out right between them. So we're going to do a rough transform by going to Edit, Free Transform, or Command-C on a Mac. I'm going to scale it really big, actually. I'm going to go here into the opacity layer, or the opacity for the layer box. Well, I'm drawing a blank of what this is called. In the layer panel, the opacity, I'm going to drop it down to 50%-ish. Just so I can see what I'm doing here. And that's good enough. Along the way, while I'm editing this, I'm going to be moving it around more. This is just roughly so I can see what I'm doing. Going to put the opacity on this layer here back up to 100%. And I'm going to move it below this other layer. It doesn't matter the positioning. You can have this one on top, the other one on top. It doesn't matter, but I've already edited these before, and I, you know, this is the way I'm going to do it. So there. Now I'm going to select this layer here, the layer of me. I'm going to go into the blending options in the layer panel here. There's a whole bunch of different options. as you can see, and I'm going to choose lighten. Now, it really all depends on the photo and everything inside of it, but lighten works best, I think, for this photo here. You can experiment with different ones, like overlay is usually one that works really well as darken, and if you're in color, as opposed to black and white like I am, you can use these and you can create some pretty cool different looking effects, but I'm going to use lighten here. Now this part down here, I don't like this. I like how this almost fades pretty much into white here, but I like the look of this, the waterfall coming down here, but this is a little too hard. So I'm going to click on this layer here, the layer of me. I'm going to go down in the layers panel and click on add layer mask. It's going to create a layered mask, obviously. I'm going to go to my paintbrush tool, or just the brush tool, and I'm going to paint with black, make sure I have black selected, increase my brush size. I'm going to paint over my shoulder here, and I'm going to go up here to the opacity, make sure this is 100%. And I'm going to paint over the shoulder here of my person. I want that to be completely gone so I can have the waterfall shining through. I don't think I need to do it over here, but I'm going to anyway, just because. But right here, where there's a little bit of grass coming through, and I don't like that, so I'm going to go back down into this layer. And like I said earlier, I'm going to move things around again. So I'm going to transform about to right there. So that got rid of the grass there. But I like how this waterfall is on this side of here. It gives it a nice outline to the white edge here, so it doesn't just fade into the abyss. But this one, well, it just fades into the abyss. So I think I want to add a bit of this waterfall over to here. So I'm going to use the marquee tool, just do random rough selection about there, and I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it as a new layer. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to select the move tool. I'm going to move that over to here roughly. It doesn't need to be a perfect thing because we'll fix that. And I'm actually going to flip this, so I'm going to go back into free transform, hold down shift and do a 180-degree flip, like that, and I'm going to position it roughly to a par where I think, yeah, that looks good. Hit enter. Now it's a little too dark here. I want it to I want to lighten it just a little bit. So I'm going to, on this layer here, create another mask, go to my paintbrush, and I'm going to select the opacity here. I'm going to put it down to about 25-ish. And I'm going to slowly just kind of paint over this here so it's not as prominent. Kind of fades a little bit more here into the edge. I want that to be pretty much completely gone. And you can do this forever. Like, this is the basic gist of it. You can spend hours working on something like this. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make the eyes pop a little bit more. And by eyes, I mean, well, the one eye, because there is only one eye. I'm going to zoom in. That was weird. And actually, before I do that, I actually want to bring the contrast up a little bit more. I'm going to click here on this half circle. That is an adjustment layer. And I'm going to click on levels. It's going to bring up, well, the level tool. Once the level tool is open, I actually want to put this above everything else so that it changes the levels of everything. And as you'll see, there's a very big a big spike here for the whites because, well, there's a lot of white in this image. But there's no true blacks. It's just kind of gray. So I want to actually increase the blacks here. Pump it up a little bit more. That might be a little too much, maybe about right there. Looks good for me. And now I'm going to bring the eye out a little bit more. So I'm going to click on a new layer, which is this page with the little bent corner. make sure my paintbrush is selected and white is selected as well. Make my brush a little bit smaller and just very roughly, well, first, opacity 100%, very roughly just paint right over top of my eye. Obviously it doesn't look very good. Well, we're going to go back into the blending mode here, and I'm going to select overlay. Now you can see when I hide the layer, it made the eye much brighter, but it also is made the glasses here a little bit brighter as well. So what I'm going to do is erase right along the eye here. Also going to increase, just make sure I don't get anything outside of the eye, using a soft brush so it's not a very hard line. For example, if I used a hard brush, just to show you, it's well, actually that's pretty fine. Pretty fine? Okay. But that, as opposed to this, it's very subtle. It probably wouldn't make much of a difference. But anyway, there's that. And I'm going to zoom all the way back out. And now that I'm looking at it, it does kind of look a little odd. That's a little too bright. I'm actually going to lower the opacity 50%. Looks okay. Now I'm going to go in here and mess around with it a whole bunch more. This is just the basic gist of how to do a double exposure photo here. You know, messing around with the blending layers and masking and everything like that. You could just spend hours, like I mentioned earlier. It sometimes kind of gets addicting, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna finish editing the rest of this photo here, and then, well, that's the end of this video. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my tutorial. I hope it helped you out in one way or another. And if it did, go ahead and hit the like button, because that will show me that, well, you know, you liked the video. That you got some kind of useful information out of it. And also hit subscribe if you like to see more of these kind of videos in the future. I do a lot of tutorials usually related to photography and other creative things like that. Like, for example, this video right here. Also, feel free to leave a comment. I read every single comment, I reply to them, whether it be here on YouTube or on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or my website, whatever it may be. And yeah, that'll do it for this video. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care.